You're literally Frodo right now.
He's the hero
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gollum's Gamers, where today we are back with the second emergency podcast here in under a week. This time I'm joined by Sam, as yesterday was the day where the entire Armies of Middle Earth book was leaked online. It's all out there for the world to see if you look hard enough, or not that hard really. So we aren't going to be covering everything today, as we'd be here all day, but we've picked out what we think are the headlines, the key profiles and army lists to discuss here today, so we can give our initial reactions to the Armies book. But before we get underway, as always, you can find us on Instagram and Spotify by following the links in the description down below. And if you do enjoy all of the MESBG content that we make, then please do remember to subscribe to us here on YouTube. A large proportion of people watching aren't subscribed, so please do if you enjoy everything we do here on the channel. So we are going to be kicking things off by talking about Kazad-dum, which was one of the factions that we did have a little bit of info on from the article that went up on Warhammer Community about the Kazad Guard being Fight 5, so there was lots of initial excitement about that particular faction. It's one that Sam has played before. We've had some people recently in the comments saying about, are you going to be using Kazad-dum again? It's a list I've wanted to use before as well, and
I will be. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed
judging by the new edition.
I enjoyed using the last edition, but I think everyone knows that they felt a little bit lackluster last edition. They didn't have all the love. However, it might have changed. It might have changed.
They've received some love. Yes. Yeah. So I guess kicking things off. So the way we're going to sort of do this is kind of talk about the army lists, and then where relevant to talk about any of the profiles and the changes to those profiles within the list, we can talk about those as well. So the Kingdom of Kazad-dum list. So the options you have in it are Durin, Mardin, a Dwarf King, a Dwarf Captain as the heroes, and then for the warriors you can take Dwarf Warriors, Dwarf Rangers, Kazad Guard, Iron Guard, Vault Warden teams, and the Dwarven Ballista. So is there anything that's not in there? I guess the King's Champion was legacy.
So King's Champion, Barlin's not in there. Floyd isn't in there.
Yes.
I think
troops
they were
are all there.
Yes,
I think that's all the troops.
Yeah, they are
Kazad
the
Guard,
troops.
everything.
You'd hope that they might release a legacy version with Barlin and Floyd and stuff added in.
So Barlin, Floyd, and the King's Champ are all legacied.
From what I know, yes. So you would maybe they add in the legacy PDF that you can take Barlin in this, but you then can't take Durin, you can't take this and that, and they might get a extra rule or something. So we'll see. But it'll be interesting.
We hope, obviously, that the legacy PDF will be coming out pretty soon. They did say months and months and months ago, when they first announced the Armies book, I believe, that it would be coming out with the Armies books. Hopefully in the next few weeks or something like that. I would hope to see that released for sure. But looking at some of the bonuses then for the Kingdom of Kazad-dum list, Legion, as people are calling it. So friendly models may reroll 1s to wound when making strikes. That's the army bonus that they had previously, so they've kept that. Friendly dwarf captains, dwarf warriors, and dwarf rangers gain the dominant 2 special rule. That's pretty damn good. Dwarf rangers are 8 points. They have dwarf longbows, so they have strength 3, 24-inch bows.
Elf shooting, basically.
Elf shooting for 9 points with the bow.
Yeah.
And they're dominant 2, just a flat dominant 2. So super good. Then they have a couple more rules. So during a draw roll, before any rerolls have been used, if the opposition player has rolled more dice, including for supporting models, then a single friendly Kazad-dum model may reroll a single d6 as part of the dual roll. So essentially that's if I'm going 1v2 and then I roll my 1 dice, you roll a 6. I have no banner. Okay, let me just re-roll my dice for free, so that 1v2 is actually a 2v2. So that's super good as well. And then finally we have Dwarven Mirrors. So I'm not going to read the whole sort of list here as it's super long, but have you read this a little bit more than me? Do you have a way to summarize what this is?
So
off the top of your head.
I think there's kind of basically 2 versions of it. So there's if your dwarfs are within 6 inches of the mirrors, you get a bonuses for your dwarfs, and if your opponents, say orcs, so it's orc models, goblins,
Yeah.
or anything that has Cave Dweller, so they'll suffer -1 to courage tests, and I think that's it. I think
Yeah.
it's just the thingy. You can basically destroy them if you stand in base contact with them, an enemy model.
Yes.
That's it.
And it's also that the area within 6 inches of the mirror marker is considered to be daylight, and then enemy models targeting a friendly model within 6 inches of a door or mirror marker with a shooting attack suffers a -1 penalty to hit roll with shooting. So they are
Yeah,
two 40 millimeter markers can be placed
yeah.
anywhere on the battlefield,
So
not within the opposition deployment zone though, which is relevant.
yeah, so you can kind of place these, where you think you're going to set up, and all of a sudden you have these strength 3, 24-inch, 3+ shoot value rangers that are,
Mm,
when if you try to shoot back, you're a -1. Like they kind of, I mean, it's just a shooting dwarf list now.
mm,
They probably will outshoot a lot. Some of the
mm.
lists, like Loth, for example, it probably won't with the Elven cloaks and stuff. But
Yep.
this makes it so you already have really good models to stick on objectives with the Rangers. But then if you can force your opponent to come towards you, so you don't have to move 5 inches per turn, that feels really
Mm.
good.
Yeah,
And
really good.
especially if your Kazad is kind of you can get quite a few dwarfs on the table with this list.
Mm.
So you're then going to be even outnumbering people by that slight bit more if you do kill. So
Yeah.
it's a really, really interesting, I guess, choice because I think people will spam Rangers now, to be honest, which makes
Mm.
them more D5 in the list. But I think the benefit you get is crazy,
Yeah.
especially as they're
And
Dom 2. Yeah.
yeah, you can still have a lot of high defense models in the list as well, even with a lot of Rangers. Let's say you have sort of 12-ish, kind of 13 bows, maybe at higher points. You're still going to have, say, 30-ish models that are going to be D7 and above, probably, depending on what heroes you take. Something else to note is that, during with the new kind of elite sort of rule in this edition, he has the leader Kazad rule, but you don't have to take Durin as your leader in this list. He can be, but doesn't have to be. So if you take a dwarf king as your general, they gain the leader Kazad rule. So you can still take a dwarf king as your leader and not be penalized by not being able to take the Kazad as a result, because they are the fight 5 troops in this list now. So
Yeah.
you're going to be taking some of those, I think, in every version of this list that you run for some fight 5, most likely.
Yeah, they're a tricky one because the Vault Wardens and Iron Guard are pretty much untouched. The Vault Wardens had a
Mm.
slight nerf that they can now
Oh
be
yes.
they like the brutal power attacks can now affect them, which they
Yep.
couldn't,
Which they.
couldn't previously.
Yep.
But it just makes it so having a fight 5 for where you need it is nice. Again, it's a bit of a shame that Durin he he's okay, from
Mm.
as a profile of 170 points. He's
Fight
nothing.
7 now.
Yeah, he's fight 7. He's still D9, which is really appealing as your leader.
Yeah.
But
But have they really changed anything else about
he's
Durin?
not really changed, to be honest.
Don't think so.
He can so with the change to the rule with the if your opponent rolls more dice, you get a reroll. You can kind of reroll all 3 dice with Durin because you'll have your banner, that reroll plus the Durin's
Yeah.
axe. So
Yeah.
he becomes
That's really nice.
really reliable in combat. But
Mm.
you just pay 170 points for him, and it's
And I mean, if they had made him the only one who could lead the Kazad, I think people would have been complaining about that. But then maybe that if you want to run the 5/5 Kazad, you might see him more. But they've kind of given you an out to not have to do that. I think another way they've tried to make him a little bit more viable is with the change they've made to Mardin. So Mardin stayed the same points, or he's gone up 5 points. He's gone from D7 to D8, which is nice for free. He's lost a point of might, but he's gained a point of fate, I believe. I've seen a number of profiles that have kind of gone down from 3 might to 2, but then they've gone from 1 fate up to 2, so like 2/2/2 rather than 3/1/1 or something like that.
yeah,
But then he also has a special rule here where if Durin is engaged in combat, yeah, and within 6 of Mardin can call a free combat. I thought Durin maybe had to call a heroic for him to do that, like a Master of Battle or something. But no, it's just if he's within 6 of Durin, he could call a free combat, and then he has to move close as possible, kind of thing. So we've seen rules like that, but I guess they're trying to make the synergy between the two a little bit more appealing, and that could be a reason why you want to take Durin.
Yeah, it's Martin again. He was pretty bad last edition, and
Yeah.
like they could have done something, made him like really monster focused. He still does get +1 to wound against monsters.
Yeah.
But
In the monster meta is nice, but
it is nice. It is, I guess, it's a slight buff, but I think they could have doubled down with it, and taken it that route a little bit more because. I think he's the only one that gets the +1. You know, if you made it so your foe spears within 3 inches get +1, again, might see a bit more use.
That'd be good. Yeah, maybe an extra 5 points for something like that, though, but like would be worth it, and like that's more of a consideration.
Again, like the no march is gonna hurt him a lot. A 5/5 striker isn't the best again out of this new edition. So
would you rather just have a dwarf king at fight 6, maybe?
Dwarf king at fight 6 with you have march, you'd have resolve. He's only got 2 attacks as well, so this free combat isn't
is
the
it going
most
to happen?
reliable anyway.
Yeah. And also, I mean, dwarf captains at Dominant 2, obviously the kings are so good, but like there are just other choices. Even if you're running Durin, who Mardin works best with, that you might be taking.
I think this kind of wanted to spam to its best ability.
Get the numbers up.
These dwarf Dom 2 dwarfs, and have you could either have spam Vault Wardens with 3rd Vault Wardens, 3rd Shield guys, and a 3rd Rangers, or you could do 3rd Iron Guard, 3rd Rangers, 3rd Dwarf guys, and have 2/3 of your army be Dom 2 is really good and shoot. And I think going the triple Dwarf King route is probably better at
really
your
nice.
high points and really spamming. But I mean they're going to be interesting now. I'll be intrigued to see how they do, and I think a lot of people love the the Moria dwarfs. So I could see quite a few of them being taken at tournaments as well. Which
we spoke about it. Yeah, in the last 6 months or so, on the pod numerous times. It's a faction that people like. We've had them in bat reps and things like that. So I'm sure we will see some more Kazad-dum as the months go by. But we'll leave it there for Kazad-dum, and we'll move on to our next list. We're going to go through all the good ones we have, and then we'll do evil afterwards. So let's touch on the fiefdoms. I was on record saying on a pod recently that I was hoping this would be the time for fiefdoms. The new Imrahil model, the dice. I have 12 of the Forge World knights. I was hoping. I saw the Kazad-dum went up to fight 5. I thought maybe do they get blanket fight 5 for an extra point? Do they go up to 12 points and they just fight 5? I was praying this was the time, but. There has been some uproar about fiefdoms. So where do you want to start here? Should I run through the special rules for the list, I guess?
I think
start there.
We could probably start with, I guess, Imrahil, maybe.
Go on then. Go on.
Because people weren't too fond, I guess, of the points value for him. Where actually is he?
Yes. Oh, he isn't in this doc. Sorry, because he was on the on the Warhammer community. Sorry, but so the fight 7.
He's a good leader. He's fight 7. He's strength 4. He gets the lance with his horse, armored horse, I think it is. But
big tax though.
190 points is a fair amount, to be honest.
6-inch banner.
He obviously he's gone from 12 to 6-inch banner for him.
Yeah.
He is still the best leader they have by quite a margin. And the banner is there is no 12-inch banners anymore. Like that's just not a thing. So it's the best you can get out of what is left. I think I thought there'd be maybe more fight 5 in the list. Bear in mind they're pretty
that's just what I thought. I thought maybe this was the time where they might sort of rework how, because obviously the fiefdoms has all these kind of bonuses within a certain radius of the heroes and things, and they've actually kind of taken that away to a certain aspect with how they stacked before, but they don't now. So I thought maybe there's a bit of a rework considering the army wasn't exactly the most seen last edition, and with the Imrahil model, maybe that's something that they were going to switch up on the direction that it was going to go. And yeah, maybe just seeing that the Kazad-dum, really big elite for the list, got the bump up to Fight 5, considering that most of the fiefdoms is Fight 4. Maybe the Knights would be the step up from that. You put them up by a point, just like the Kazad-dum, but that's not the case. It's still the 3-inch radius on Imrahil for the +1 fight.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that it's the 3-inch radius is for the other heroes as well, like Angbor. And like so the heroes that are like the Lamadon heroes, so Angbor can only lead the Lamadon models. So you're kind of tied as to what models you can take when you choose these heroes. Someone such as Forlong, he is looking quite good at the same time. He still kept his 3 might.
Lost his horse though.
He's lost his horse, but his horn could be useful. So you get a free 12-inch basically terror on all your models.
Once per game, you call it, and everything within 12, which is a huge radius. So that is actually pretty good.
So
on a key turn.
Yeah, I think it's just the restriction on what you can take when you pick these heroes up, and were the bonuses. It wasn't 3 inches last edition, was it?
It was 6 last edition, and then they also all stacked as well, where now that's not the case. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it could have stayed at 6, and it would have still been fine. Like, it wouldn't have been really, really, really OP or good.
They put it down to 3. And they don't stack. So
I think the list is just fine. Unfortunately, I think it's not bad. I don't think it's good.
So I mean, I guess a couple of the other places where they've tried to sort of, I guess, give it a little bit of a boost. So another hero that's had a little bit of a glow up, I think, is Angbor. So he now has Mighty Blow. He has Mighty Blow. He has March now, which is obviously really key, because you'd have to take something that had March, but you can take him. And he's gone out to Fight 5. I'm not sure he was Fight 5 before. Oh, no, sorry, he was Fight 5 before. He was 2-3-1, where now he's 2-2-2. So an extra point of fate is nice. Mighty Blow and March, and he's only gone up 5 points. So that's actually pretty nice for only a 5-point increase on a hero that you might want to take. And then as well, so in the list, some of the special rules, there's 2 special rules. So the first one is the first turn in which this army would be broken and therefore have to take courage test as a result of being broken. All friendly models automatically pass courage test for being broken that turn, so it's only 1 turn. It's not the best, but then kind of the main one here is if a friendly hero, so any hero, charges into combat, then during the fight phase, friendly infantry models within 6 inches of that hero that share both of the same faction keywords as the hero gain an additional +1 to wound when making strikes. So this is in the main fiefdoms army list, so obviously there's no Rohan or any other kind of heroes in here. So +1 to win within 6 when you get a particular hero charge that shares the keywords is nice, but it's quite situational to set up.
I could see people having a whale of a time having +2 to wound knights, just going all mounted, just being absolute legends.
And then also, though, you've got the axemen as well, which can use their axes as spears or 2-handed weapons. So like, there's some play there. It's not 3 inches, it's 6. I think that is a conscious decision, because 3 would just be absolutely terrible. So 6 is pretty big.
The problem is that with how they've structured this list now, you kind of need Imrahil for your 6-inch banner. You need your only forms of spears now are the axemen or your Blackroot Vale archers.
Yeah, because the men-at-arms are gone. Yeah,
you're now forced into taking Forlong or Dwin here. Neither for the spears, right? Because if you
I see. Sorry, because they can only lead them. Yeah. Oh well, no. So if you wanted to then get the bonus,
oh sure, right, yeah,
you would have to, yeah. So, but that's, I guess, where it gets interesting. Like, there is maybe some sort of world where you could run the cheap heroes.
Yeah,
so
like
say Forlong, Angbor, Dern here. Lots of models at low points. I'm not sure how good it is, but like there are routes you can go with it and still gain the bonuses. But obviously, you're wanting to use Imrahil, and it's just there's some restrictions now, sort of.
Yeah, it's just such a.
Interesting.
I think it's just it makes sense the route they've gone down, but I just think they could have done it a little bit better
Yeah, they've
for the
sort of
beginning.
leaned even more into the way that it was last
Yeah,
edition, where like the specific troops work with the specific heroes, and if that hero gets in combat, then those troops like rally and get +1 to wound. So like they've gone more down that route. I guess maybe they'd have gone away from it to try and make the list a little more viable. They haven't done, and it's maybe going to be equally not as viable as it was before. I don't know.
again, I think
Um,
it's. I think the list is just fine now. I think it
it's
is.
okay.
It's
Like
it's
it's not,
it's a 5 or a 6. It's.
but it's not going to be doing much.
I
Yeah.
don't think you'll see it really at unless there's like like you said, a non-Imrahil spam version.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
I struggle to
But
see that as well, if I'm honest.
uh,
So
I wanted this to be the time for the knights, and I don't think it is. So I will
um,
keep them to the side for another 8 years until the next edition comes out, I guess, and we'll
you
see
never
from
know.
there. Anyway, so moving on. Before we move on, though, from the Gondor, the realms of Gondor, honourable mention, the is it the grief of Aemir, the
Yes.
Aemir list? I thought we should touch on this one because this is one that I think lots of people were just quite interested in. I think it was mentioned in the Warhammer community article that Aemir
Mhm.
goes up to fight 7 in that list. But yeah, kind of the special rules for that. I think like people were wondering, oh, is it going to be all mounted? What can you take in it exactly? So it is a Rohan and fiefdom
Good.
sort of
Yeah.
alliance. You could take Wards of Minas Tirith as well, and obviously all the Rohan and Dol Amroth knights. So there's the rule. Is the first rule here? He gains the +1 fight value on the charge, but
Yeah.
then also there's a couple other special rules. So any Gondor models can reroll ones in a turn in which they charge. So again, we're seeing all those kinds of rules everywhere. But then the other one as well, Aemir gains the fearless special rule, and also for any Rohan models that draw line of sight to Aemir pass courage tests. So really the +1 fight on the turn he charges, and then he re-rolls everything as well now. Is that in his profile? Is that a thing?
It's. I'm assuming. Yeah, you
I've heard
can.
that bounced around, but I
Yeah,
think
it's the
maybe that's
Peter
in his
Bruce special,
profile
which
or
I
something.
I honestly haven't really had a too big of a delve, dive into
Yeah,
it.
no, into it. No,
Um,
no, no. But kind of, yeah, so you could take Imrahil in this list. Hurin is in it as well, who
yeah.
hasn't changed a whole lot. He's gone up
Uh, I think
slightly in points.
one of his rules
He's
changed.
yeah, the rule for the general
DP
with
denial.
denying the VPs is actually good now.
Yeah.
But I think other than that, he's the same, although slightly more expensive. So if you want to run some kind of mounted Rohan and Gondor list, this is what you do, I guess. But you've got a lot of points sunk into Aemir and Imrahil. Obviously, you don't have to take Imrahil, but
Yeah.
if you want to take any of the Swan Knights, you would have to. I guess you could take a mounted Dol Amroth captain if you really wanted to. But
Yeah.
there's different directions you can go down. But I think it was a list that people were quite interested in. Not sure how good it's going to be, but it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
fearless is nice for them, like the pseudo fearless with having line of sight for
yeah,
the whole army.
yeah,
And yeah, like you said, a lot of lists again, the reroll ones. It's a
yeah.
conditional reroll one
Chucked in there.
if you're
Mm.
charging. So
If you charge, yes. So,
um,
but
but maybe they could have made it so AMA is just blanket fight 7, not when he charges.
mm, yeah,
Because whether how much of a big deal it is another matter. It just means
yeah,
he on a turn he lose a move off or something. He's and maybe be pinned by certain heroes and stuff. Where
yeah,
blanket fight 7, it'd be a little bit more toe to toe.
yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. I can see people using this anyway. Regardless, it might do
Yeah,
better than we think.
yeah, it's a very thematic choice, I must say.
Yeah.
I do like the whole idea of it, so I am behind the list for sure. And then just a couple other very brief. Had to mention some of the glow ups to a couple of Gondor heroes. Sam
Um,
Beregond is 65 points now. He was a 30-point 111 one wound chaff. And
yeah,
Beregond is 65 points. He's fight 5, he's 222, and he's 2 attacks, 2 wounds.
yeah, he's kind of cooked. Whilst
What is that?
yeah,
That's a hell of a a bump. They've just taken him as being like a little independent. He might have been a hero
Yeah.
fortitude, but a little independent sort of nothing, like one of the Rangers. And they've gone, now let's bump you up into that next kind of category,
That is shine, yeah.
which is quite lemon to see. I think he's in the atop the walls list, which was kind of lacking in some hero choices, but it's had Beregond, Hurin, and I think Ingold all added in. So he's now another sort of like decent hero fortitude choice on the sort of cheaper side. So just was not expecting to see him go up by 35 points and have all those stat increases. That isn't something you usually see a lot.
Yeah, no,
so
it's a bit strange. But
I want to give him a little
I think
honourable mention.
it's a bit of a shame. For that kind of hero, a 65-point hero, which is a bit of a, you kind of want him as your marcher, but again, he doesn't have March.
Doesn't have March. Well, there's some other great options as well, always within kind of the Ministerial list, Material, and then segueing into Ingold. I love Ingold, and he's gone up by 5 points, but he's now fight 5, which is a huge bonus for a strength 4 D7 hero with shield wall, so potentially D8 at fight 5. Just he can now go into elves, the most elite troops, and sort of maybe start chopping. He's kept strike, which is obviously super nice, and he still has defense as well, and he has lost a point of might though, and he's gained a point of fate. So 311 to 222, as I was saying before, is something that we've seen quite a lot of. But just going out to 5/5, super good, and I'm happy to see it. I love Ingold. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's nice. I don't think his actual rules changed with the 3 inch.
The backing away, I don't believe so. Yeah, he's got that.
Pause a note that. Yeah, it's just if they're both benefiting from the rule. So the rule is super good as well. It's having strike and defense as well. That's a hero you can kind of chuck in maybe with the
Obviously he's lost the point of might though, so that is like he's got less. You've got to pick which spot like even if you call a move or something, say one turn, you've only got the 1 might left to play with. Obviously having the 3, you have a lot more kind of flexibility. So
it does seem like a lot of these heroes are losing a might point and gaining a fate
which is
point,
good though. There was so many 3 cheap
I quite
3
like
might
it.
heroes.
Yeah, I quite like it. I think we're moving the might pool down overall on average. Makes it just your might usage a lot more.
And obviously, in a particular faction in the last edition, you would have more heroes to pick from. Where obviously now in the lists, you have a smaller section, so they can kind of choose which three might heroes they have in there.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and I think people always take Ingold. They took him last edition, and he was pretty decent. So,
and I think he's got better. So
5 points for it
love to see it.
Pretty good for him,
yeah, it's nice. So, okay, we shall move on from all of the Gondor men sort of stuff, and we shall move in to some cheesy bears. So I will hand over to Sam here. What do you think on the bears in the new edition?
So I mean, I think
the new book.
I think that'll be pretty good. So we've already had Bjorn. I think a lot of him. He stayed the same compared to last edition. He got Dom 5. And the overall monster changes are pretty good for Bjorn. I don't remember exactly what his intelligence is, so I'm pretty sure he's a good hurler regardless.
Yeah, sure.
So I think Grimbeorn is the same. He's also Dom 5 and has I think the same stat line. He still fights 7, strength 8. And got Dom 5, strike, defense, and they got a rule in the Legion. So it's basically at the beginning of each move phase, before you declare heroic actions, you roll a d6 for each bear on the table. So 2 alive, you roll 2. If any of them, 2 dice are a d6 or a 6 on your dice, enemy models will suffer a -1 to courage test when charging a model with a Terror Special rule, which is only the bears. So it's kind of a pseudo harbinger for models for them, which is it's a minor rule, but a third of the time it'll go off, which it could be, especially when you play against these kind of goblins or orcs or something, it could be quite big.
If it was only 1d6, it would be a lot worse, but you should get it every other turn if you're rolling 4 dice every 2 turns. You should get it
Well, it's
every
a
other
third of the
turn.
time, like every 3 turns,
But if you're rolling
right? Because it's
four
two.
dice, oh yeah, sorry, yes, sure,
It's
okay,
two
once
dice
every
per
three
turn, so
turns.
it's two
Yeah,
out of
that's fine.
six, one out of
Yes, fine.
three.
Yes, yeah, sure.
But I mean, the Bears really haven't changed. They still have their kind of natural six. You ignore the wound like a shrug.
Yep,
You get resistant to magic for the whole
yep,
list. The
on every
biggest
roll.
thing is the bear banners are now not 6 inches for the warriors. They
Mm,
are only 3 inches. Um,
yes,
Interesting to note the
there's a
Bjorn.
nerf,
Yeah, so
but
they've been reduced by three. Whether I think that is the be all end all for them, I don't think it is.
yeah,
This list kind of, although this 6 inch banner made it so you could keep the bears pretty spread, you never really wanted to do that in the first place. You wanted to keep them pretty close together until when
mm,
you needed to break them off. So I don't think it being 3 inches is gonna impact that play style
mm,
too much, if I'm honest.
yeah,
The Beornings haven't changed, which is nice. Again, it's only 3 inches for them, but like the actual stat line, so they're still fight four, or sorry, fight five. They're strength four,
yeah,
burly, D4. They can choose between the bow or the axes.
hmm,
So they're going to be super, super, super good into a lot of
yeah,
these high defense dwarf lists that
mm,
are maybe fight four. The Emperor, for example, it kind of goes toe to toe with the fight five, and the
yep,
Bears help a lot in that
yeah.
matchup. Um,
I like that they've had a. It seems like they've had a proper think about this because they've gone, oh, we're buffing monsters, but they haven't just gone. Well, Beornings weren't that good last edition. I think depending on sort of what level you're playing at, whether you're playing more casually or things, your opinion on that may vary. But they weren't a list we were seeing kind of do super well on the top tables of events. So they've gone, oh, okay, we're buffing monsters, but were they that bad where we can just buff monsters and not have to do anything else to the list? They've decided no, that we have to kind of tone something else back a bit to make way for those monster changes. They've done that by reducing the banner size, so
yeah,
they've clearly put some thought into it.
I just think overall, like the changes to have Dom 5 on both bears and the actual
Yeah,
monster changes in general on these two models
yeah,
um is just better
makes
than
them way better. Yeah,
having the
than having the
6 inch
6 inch
banner.
banner.
Um
Yeah,
Especially because you have two 3 inch banners, so you should be covering nearly all your
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
regardless.
And you can almost put like, because if you have models fighting, it's not only the kind of side to side. I think you think of a bear and then 3 inches either side, but you've also got the kind of whole radius in
Yeah.
front as well. So if you have models fighting in front, then with both bears, like you can still make it a pretty big radius in a line
You
fight,
should
which I
you should
think
be
is
covering a
enough.
lot. Yeah, you should be
Yeah,
covering a lot. And I
yeah,
just think the overall changes for them, I think they'll do pretty well this edition. If I'm honest, they just
yeah.
seem like again, monsters that have good hurling opportunities are great. The the lack of not the lack of strike, but strike just being worse
Mm,
helps them a ton as well.
yeah,
Fight five gore bags striking up to 10 against them
yeah.
last action when you feel
You
like you
can't
have
have a
to strike.
fight four in gold, just go in and roll a four up and tie them.
Yeah,
Like,
like you wouldn't really strike anyway against these heroes last edition because it's just not really worth your 6 might. But
yeah,
now it's really not worth it. There's kind of
yeah,
no debate there. You're just gonna hope they roll a 1 or 2, and they're
yeah.
either lower
It's
or
way
higher
better.
or the same as fight. So
Yeah.
I think they'll be strong. I'll at least I'll take them to 1 or 2
We're going to
tournaments.
be
And
seeing the
again,
cheesy
yeah.
bears come out from Zam, eh?
The only thing is
They're
that
coming back.
they obviously don't count for banners.
Hmm.
They There's quite a few banner scenarios at the moment. So
Yes.
whether that impacts them, I don't think it will because the Eagles still exist and they have
Hmm.
clearly done
No.
fine.
Yeah.
So I'll be intrigued to see how many people take these
How it plays out.
and
Yeah.
where they finish overall because
Yeah.
I think the lists that are good they do well into. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
We are going to see a big shake up for sure with the release of this along with the match play guide. So very, very interesting times ahead to see where things fall on the rankings. Maybe some tier lists coming back. Who knows? Okay, so we shall move on to our next list. We're circling back to close things out here for the good lists to the dwarves that we kicked things off with. It's the Army of Erebor, which has Sam very, very excited, folks. So I shall run through the list and then I'll hand over to you. So the Army of Erebor. So this is the list where you can take. So it's the other Dane. So it's the King Under the Mountain one that came out in the Defense of the North. So it's him and Thorin the Third as well that came out with him in the Forge World pack. And then the other heroes that you can take. So these are the Champions of Erebor. You can take Dwalin, Bifur, Bofa, Nori, Dori, Gloin. And then Gimli as well thrown in there, and a Dwarf King and an Iron Hills Captain. So a lot of different sort of cheaper hero options as well. Then also some slightly more expensive ones for the dwarves. So really interesting with the Dwarf King there as well. And then for the warriors is just Iron Hills Warriors and the Goat Riders. So the special rules for this list. So first of all, we have Wall of Steel. So friendly models that are supporting gain a bonus of +1 to wound when making strikes. So if you are supporting a model, so if you are a spear support, you get +1 to wound.
Yeah.
That's it. If you are supporting with a spear, you walk into base contact, now you're +1.
Honestly, okay. The way
let me read the other two rules very quickly. So he can't hold back the takes. So then we have 4 Erebor. So each friendly hero model may once per game declare a heroic combat for free. That's pretty nice to have chucked in there as well. And then like father, like son, whilst within 3 inches of each other, Gimli and Gloin may re-roll any fail to wound rolls when making strikes. They are all 3 really useful, really good rules, I would say. More so than friendly Gondor models being able to re-roll 1s when charging. And they have all 3, and they're all really good. So what do you think?
It's just the way that they've done some of the rules for some dwarf armies so dirty, such as Army.
That was the first thing he said in our chat when he saw this list. He said it's like almost word for word.
It's just like, how can you make Army of Thrall so horrid and stuff?
Shout out
like
Ben Haslam.
What's the one between the Dale and
Defenders
of Erebor?
Defenders of Erebor,
yeah. Like those rules are so lackluster, and then Erebor Reclaimed dwarfs are arguably the best dwarfs anyway, because of the fight 4 strength 4 high defense, and then you give a +1 to wound, just a blanket +1 as spear sporting is crazy.
This man's happy he's going to be able to use this list soon enough.
I'll be using this for sure because it's just so and then
good hero choices.
Like dwarfs. Notoriously, if you call a heroic combat with a dwarf, it's definitely not going off because a lot of the time they don't have a mounted, you don't get the +1 dice when you're mounted, and you can't really get a knockdown a lot of the time. But when you take Gimli and Gloin, you get a free one, so you don't feel bad if you whiffed it in the first place, and you're re-rolling all.
And your spear support behind you is +1. So there you go.
Spear support is essentially strength 6. So honestly, it seems. This list is gonna be really good.
Like even if you took away those 2 other rules, so the one with Gimli and Gloin and the free combat, if you had the +1 with all spears, and then you gave them a couple sort of bad rules or that are okay, like something to do with courage or something like that, it would still be good.
Yeah,
but all 3 are super useful.
I think, we should probably go into some of the models. So basically,
go on,
Dane. Last edition was a banner for the dwarfs. He is no longer, so he is just a fight 6, strength 4. He has his master two-handed axe, and he's D8. He has a board wide stand fast, and for 130 points, he's not bad. He's okay. The thing is that you don't need to take him in this list.
No.
There are better options compared to taking him as well. So. Whether how much you see him is another matter. He's
it's almost like an auto sort of. The list has given you one specific way to build it in the special rules. It's gone. One way that you should build this list is with Gimli and Gloin. It's not the only way, but it's saying that is one way that you only do it and maybe should.
Only for the bottom rule. I actually don't think. Yeah. I think people could still build this list without Gimli and Gloin. And
you can for sure, but that is they've said that is one way that you should maybe definitely go about doing this.
Yeah,
there's other options. But
it's a minor rule compared to the other 2. Stuff stuff like Thorin the Third. I mean, he's D9 now, so again, also a very appealing leader option.
And 3-3-3 across the board. He's got strike like for 110 points.
Yeah, so he's 20 points less,
He's
and
really good.
like that feels like I'd personally rather have Thorin the Third with an extra Goat Rider as my leader and as another model to play around
he
with.
has like I think it's a 5-up when he spends might or something. He gets it for
yeah,
free,
it's
which
same as
isn't
us.
great. But even without that, like you could have that happen twice a game or something, and then it feels quite good. But even without that, to be a D9 leader with 3s across the board for 110 points,
Yeah,
worse.
I mean, it's just the fact that you get some of the best champions of Erebor.
Yep.
One, obviously, you don't get Thorin, who is excellent for his points as well. Like you lose the
Yep.
Foolish Banner compared to Erebor Reclaimed. So you also don't get Ori. So
Yeah.
the Gloin becomes slightly less reliable with him only having a two-handed weapon, which means you're kind of needing to roll the 6 on the, I guess maybe 5 dice, 6 dice that you're in combat with, which is pretty likely, but he's not as good. Gimli, again, I think he never really had a list like this to be put in. Like Kazad-dum was last edition, you could have him in with Balin or
Yeah, you
whatever.
could do. Yeah.
But this having that rule makes his combat potential just really much better.
You just take a dwarf king, you take Gloin and Gimli, and
You're
you buy
laughing.
yourself some Rivendell dice, and then you're rolling 6s with Gloin, and then you're killing.
Like you
And
just have you just have a really solid line. You have this is the list that has Goat Riders. You know, Erebor Acclaimed does not. So you get movement. You know, they're 20 points, but they kill if they
You
win
lose the
they're
whole
guaranteed.
marching sort of thing, which is obviously really good about Erebor Reclaimed, but like as
Yeah,
a alternate option with a lot of the good things that it has, plus some other really good things, is a
yeah.
really good list.
I mean,
You know?
again, like I think this is still it's not a blanket this is better than Erebor Acclaimed. I think it's
I
still
know.
much more of a toss-up than it looks. The marching and charging for the other list is really good. Everyone having
Yep.
march in the other list is exceptionally good. You are forced to take a Dwarf King or a Captain if you want march. That
Yeah, in
said,
this.
the Dwarf Kings are also very good. They're fight 6.
Yeah.
In this, I'm pretty sure in Erebor they become fearless. That's their special rule. They get with that faction
Yeah.
keyword,
And
which is
dwarfs did okay last edition without having everything having march and being able to charge when marching as well. Sure, it's super good, but
yeah.
dwarfs did okay without that, and now you maybe have a strength 6 backline. Like
It's just the fact it's not a conditional thing. It's just I've been charged and my spear spell hasn't moved. Now I get +1 to wound. It's just you just get it.
I think how many things we've seen this edition become conditional things, I
Yeah,
am quite surprised to see. I think this is maybe the only example of something like this where it's just a blanket really good bonus.
yeah. I mean,
No
it's just like
area,
Celeborn.
just no condition.
Oh, sure. So the 3
But
inches.
there's a condition
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's absolutely nothing here. You just need to be supporting, which is the most basic thing that happens all the time
It's
over
just gonna be
the
really,
whole battlefield. Like
it's just gonna be really good. I I will be giving this a shot and see whether it is
yeah,
better than
where
Erebor
it works.
Claimed. But
Yeah, it might be.
super,
Like for all we know, it could play out to be better. You know,
yeah.
it might not be, but it could be.
Again, this is just a dwarf list that's been given a lot of love, whilst some of the others
Yep,
haven't.
haven't.
It's just interesting how the list, how they've decided what gets what.
The choices. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fascinating, but
I think they maybe want to sell some Iron Hills dwarf stuff. They
yeah,
need to bring some of it back in stock then,
yeah,
because people are going to want to play these lists. So
true.
and they're going to look for alternate options if they are not available on the website. So, okay. We shall leave it there for the dwarves and the good lists. We're going to start talking about some evil stuff now. We're going to kick things off with a little bit of a anticipated list from when we got the Warhammer community article about the armies book that showed the list of all the lists that were going to be in it, which is the Army of the Great Eye. So, because we had the Legions of Mordor, we thought, how is this going to be different exactly? And we now know everything that is going to be included. So, there's a ton of models similar to like the Defenders of the Pelennor, the Legions of Mordor. So, there's a load of models in this. Think kind of almost everything that was included kind of in Mordor last edition. You've got your Witch King, your Standard Wraith, Gothmog, the Mouth, Shagrag, Gorbag, all the kind of unnamed Mordor heroes like your Captain, your Taskmaster, all that sort of stuff. Shelob in there as well, and then all your kind of Mordor sort of troops, Morannons, Mordor Orcs, Warg Riders, Black Numenorians. You've kind of got everything in there. Siege Bow, War Catapult. It's kind of everything. So there's obviously lots of different combinations. The Witch King comes as 3/18/3, so kind of like the host, the Witch King. He's the kind of buffed up leader, which you'd want him to be. You can give him Horse, Fell Beast, so loads of different options. Now, the interesting thing about this list are the special rules. So first of all, though, you do have to have a Ring Wraith model lead this army. So it doesn't have to be the Witch King. The Ring Wraith comes as 2/14/2 for 120 points, and that's on foot, and you can't give them a horse. So it's quite expensive, but you could run it as a Ring Wraith with the leader if you wanted to. But the main sort of special rule here is the Great Eye, of course. So I shall read this out for any, because it's quite an interesting rule. So at the beginning of the game, place a 25mm Great Eye marker on the battlefield in your deployment zone. At the end of each move phase, remove the Great Eye marker and roll a d6. On a 2+, you may place it anywhere within 6 inches of where it was. On a 1, Sauron has been distracted, and your opponent may place it anywhere within 12 inches of where it was. The Great Eye marker can never be placed so that it overlaps another model's base, though models may finish their move overlapping the Great Eye marker. Friendly models treat the Great Eye marker as a banner. Enemy models within 3 inches of the Great Eye marker suffer a -1 penalty to any courage or intelligence tests they are required to make. And then there's also, if your opponent's army contains a ring bearer with the exception of Sauron, then during the end phase of any turn they are wearing the ring and within 3 inches of the Great Eye marker, they must roll a d6. On a 3+, they succumb to Sauron and are immediately removed as a casualty. That's a very nice sort of added on bit there, which they didn't need to put in, but obviously if you are within 3 inches of the Great Eye marker and you have the ring, something bad might happen, right? So I like that they've added that on there. So what do you think on the rule, how it works? Very interesting. We've never really seen anything like that before, I don't think.
Yeah, I like the flavor of it.
There's a lot to read out.
Some things that are very interesting about it is whether this stacks with Harbinger. So if you can take a Black Numenorian frontline,
doesn't say it doesn't.
Yeah,
so...
and have this giving -1 courage, as well as the Witch King giving -1 courage, that could be pretty good. A funny
like
thing,
the Terror special role to see.
yeah. Another funny thing, which I think Ali brought it up, is the wording for the ring bearer. It doesn't say the one ring. It just says a ring bearer. So
oh no.
So if you have Durin or the Elvish rings, if one of them was in
wait. As in here in this rule, yeah, it says if your opponent's army contains a ring bearer.
Yeah, obviously this is an oversight and it means the one ring. However, if you put it next to Galadriel on a 3+, she removes. If you put it next to Durin or Aragorn with or whatever the Barahir one is, they remove them. Like you could just instantly give heroes.
So I'm looking at this though.
Because of the wording.
So it does say here. So a model who carries the one ring is referred to as the ring bearer with the R capitalized the way it is there.
Okay.
So I think that is the way. Yeah, I think if a TO was looking at that, I do see that.
It's
that would be crazy though. Oh, you're Galadriel. Oh yeah, goodbye.
Well, that's really odd, because I guess if it is an art, but then it's a weird one. I sincerely hope it isn't.
Yeah, I think it is, considering in the One Ring section it says a model carrying the One Ring is referred to as a ring bearer, but I guess that
But
doesn't
then this is,
say that other models that have rings aren't referred to as ring
but
bearers.
it's just
No.
if your opponent's army contains a ring bearer, like
Yeah, Galadriel is a ring bearer, I guess,
it just
but
feels a bit.
yeah, I don't know.
Whether they clarify this, I hope they do.
I think they've probably gone, well, we have a section in the One Ring that says that the
Yeah,
person carrying the One Ring is the ring bearer, so that means that's fine. But we'll
from a
see what
place
it
of
could be.
decency, I hope that no one
Yeah.
ever says, "Oh, by the way, that's a ring bearer. You have to, three
Yeah.
plus instead."
Oh, yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, I think this is quite interesting.
So I think it stacks with Terror, the because
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
hard to
say that
say.
it's not cumulative. Well, it
Yeah,
doesn't say in the Terror special rule that it's not cumulative, so why would it not? I mean, it's minus
yeah.
one.
I think that it's an FAQ
As
thing
it
that
says in
should be
Harbinger.
should be put down. But again, I think if it is that, it makes it pretty good, quite interesting. You
Oh,
have
sorry. So under sorry, Harbinger doesn't make any difference though, because it says wait, no, it does here. Yeah, it says under Harbinger that this is not cumulative with other special rules that provide a similar effect.
so it
So
doesn't.
so it doesn't. No,
I don't think. Yeah,
that is relevant then. No.
yeah. So I guess it's a Witch King that you can kind of choose what to do with. Like it's not you need to take a Fell Beast or whatever. Like it's scalable to some extent. You get a little bit of
Yeah.
choice. And some of the heroes
And
are
it's only a 3 inch sort of anyway, so it's not like
yeah, it's not
with the
it's not
minus one.
massive, but
Yeah,
I think
but the ban is obviously huge.
yeah, I mean you're going to take a banner anyway in this list, but the ability to take have two banners with a kind of like old edition with a Black Nun frontline, a Morannon backline,
Hmm.
could feel pretty good.
Yeah,
At what points level it works at, I don't really know. I
yeah, with the heroes.
haven't delved into it that much, but I the only problem is that there's quite a few of these lists that will have blanket fearless, like
Hmm.
the Aragorn Men of the West, the Aemir one now has it. A lot of these lists just have fearless built into them.
Yeah.
So they again it kind of makes it so they might become more prevalent if this gets taken, and then it's a back and forth, juggling what you don't take and what you do. So I
Yeah.
think we'll experiment with this. Interesting to note that I'm pretty sure the siege bows are now a 4+ shoot value instead of a 5+.
Oh, I didn't
And
know
they're
that.
only 50 points. So I could see someone taking a kind of a troll like spam siege bow list that
A Jack Walger list.
yeah, get back in
Yes, do
the
it.
scene. Um,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. You get war riders, you get a lot of choice.
Yeah.
So it might be good.
Another great option, yeah, for sure, with it. A very interesting rule. So we shall move on from Army of the Great Eye. Let's go next to another one of Sam's beloved lists.
Yeah.
Long-time viewers of the channel will know for sure. Sam loves his Corsairs, his evil pirate men, who have seen some changes for sure. Where do you want to kick things off here?
I guess I don't think there is changes, but they're not insanely impactful. So, for example,
Hmm.
Dalamir, Dalamir has gone up by 10 points, but he has got an extra fight value. Everything else is the same, to be honest, with him.
Hmm.
So in the actual Umbar list, you can take Dalamir. There's also Delgamar, who is the same points. However, I noticed that he has had a slight nerf, which is a shame.
What's
So
that?
he he is still 3 might, 1 with 1 fate. Like I think his stat line is the exact same, and the only change he's had is that his Ruthless Commander special rule with the whip allowing you to re-roll a dice if you've lost a duel roll with a Corsair.
Hmm.
Um, that used to be you could whip multiple Corsairs. So if you had 10 Corsairs in a surrounding
Oh yeah, you can
Sauron, you
whip
could
all of
get
them.
10 chances of whipping. Now
Yeah.
it just says only a single Corsair warrior can use this special rule in each combat.
Uh,
So
oh, I see. So you can use it multiple times a turn, but in only one per combat.
yeah. So
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
you're kind of wanting again, you're wanting to not play in a battle line with Corsairs, you're wanting to trap, you're wanting to get to do three guys on one fella, and usually you won't be able to roll three dice, then whip all three, hopefully win the fight and then kill. Now it's only the one, so
Mm.
it, he is it's a
That is
little bit
different.
worse.
Yeah.
Whether he'll be taken anyway is another matter in the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can take him. You could got Haradrim chieftains, Hasharins, which you have to have at least one when you build the list for Umbar. You
Yes.
get Corsair
For
captains.
a particular role. Yeah. And sorry, this is the Umbar list that we're looking
This is
at
the
here.
Umbar list, yeah. So
Yeah.
you get captains, Corsair captains, bosuns, a Black Númenórean marshal, and then you get Haradrim warriors, Corsair warriors, and Black Nuns. So
Hmm.
no Arbalesters in this, which makes sense because of the rule Shadows of Angbar or Umbar, sorry. So friendly models gain the Stalk Unseen special rule.
Hmm.
Um, Admittedly, having 12 crossbows that cannot be shot because they have stalk unseen behind terrain does seem maybe pretty good.
Yeah. Mm.
And they also gain friendly models gain hatred Gondor special rule.
Mm.
Again, situational, nice to have if you're playing against Gondor warriors, but um,
Yeah.
it's I don't really know about this list. I think it's the Hasharin aren't the greatest, if I'm honest.
Sorry, but can you take the crossbows in this?
You can't take them, no.
No, in this, no. So they don't have the stalk unseen anyway. Yeah,
No, so that's
for
what I mean.
this,
So
no.
this
Oh,
would have
sorry, you were
been
saying that
really
would be too good. Sorry,
this list would
yeah.
be really, really good, I think, if you could
If it
take
had that,
uh
yeah,
those crossbows because your
yeah,
shooting would then be really good.
yeah.
This only has Harad
The
bows.
Corsair bow meta is not coming.
The Corsair bow has never been a meta thing. Only Arbalesters, which I I struggle to see this list doing that well, if I'm honest, and if being taken because
Mm.
you
Even with the Seize Command special rule?
is that for the Hasharin? Is that the killing one?
Yes, yes. Do you want to run through that?
Yeah, so basically it's a themey rule. So if you're in the end phase of any turn, your general has only a single wound remaining, is within 3 inches, and line of sight of a friendly Hasharin. So there's a lot of conditions there. Um,
Yeah.
you may choose to remove your general as a casualty. If you do, you may immediately choose another friendly hero to be your new general. And this still has to be the highest heroic tier for the general
Yeah.
remaining left on the board. Um, the previous model loses a general keyword and no longer counts as a general for the purpose of special rules or victory points. And if a Hasharin is your general, they cannot use this special rule to kill themselves via bloody seppuku, whatever it is. And a different Hasharin would have to be within 3 inches to use the special rule.
Yes.
A very cool rule, thematic. Practical, no. Um,
There's been a lot of noise going around on the Facebook groups. Lots of trolls,
yeah.
lots of memes going around about sort of sniping your general in the head. Oh, I'll take that keyword, thank you. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's yeah, it's cool.
it's getting
Very
down to one wound
very
with it.
situational. Yeah,
Getting down to one wound with your hero is I mean you might just die anyway if you're D4 and you're getting charged by
yeah.
something. And yeah, it's themey. Good is another matter.
Mm,
But yeah, I just can't really see this being the choice if you want to take Corsairs.
mm,
Which it might, again, it's the only list that you can take Black Nuns with Corsairs, admittedly.
yeah,
Which again, it was good last edition because you could have Black Nuns, Corsairs, and Arbalesters, so you have shooting. But at this point,
hmm,
sure, you're going to be out shooting everyone because you have Stalk Unseen, but the amount of modders you kill is, I don't think, weighs is enough to warrant taking it. If I'm honest, you might as well leave the Stalk Unseen at home and take crossbows in another
mm.
list.
In another list,
So
yeah, in the
we'll
Corsair
see.
fleets list that's in the army book.
Yeah, so Corsair,
Yeah,
the others went to the Corsair fleets list. So
yeah,
it's kind of assault on Corsair with
yeah.
arbalesters and
Are there any of the heroes in this book that have been added into that?
yeah.
That's
So
of note.
Dalamir. So it used to be in the Corsair fleets that a captain would be your leader. If you take Dalamir, that's no longer the case. You can have Dalamir as your leader instead.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Delgamar's in it as well, and he's a hero of valor.
Okay.
But it's only them. Like it's only Corsairs in there.
Yeah.
You can't have
Yeah.
Black Nuns. If you had Black Nuns, it'd basically be the same as last edition, but you get a
Yeah.
ballista as well. But it's
Oh
only
yes.
So it's interesting. I think this one. I think with the troops you can take, it's maybe not good enough. Would have to
Mm.
see. I could be wrong. I'll be.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to make this one the more combat one, and then the fleets with the arbalistas, which aren't now called arbalistas. They're called
It's
what
called
are they
Corsair
called?
crossbowmen, I think.
Oh no, but the actual the rule that gives them this a pay a
The
pav
Pavis. Pavis.
a pavis. I was
Yeah.
how the fuck do you say that word? A
Yeah.
pavis. A
Sure, it's
pavis.
called last edition. So it's the
There
same
is no.
thing.
I thought it was called an arbalista. Oh no,
So
they were called
the
Corsair
Corsair
arbalistas.
profile was the Corsair Arbalista. They used to
And
have
the
a
Pavis was the
Pavis
same
as
thing. Oh, I
their,
see.
yeah,
Oh, I thought the rule was called an Arbalista. Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the Corsair fleets with the Corsair crossbowmen and the Ballista as well is meant to be like the shooty one. I don't know. Did you pre-order
Yeah.
any of the
I did not.
ballistas?
I did
You
not.
did
No,
not. No.
no. I held off at the moment to see what
Sure. See how it
see what
plays
to
out.
buy. But yeah,
Indeed.
I think just stuff like Harad as well has been not. It's not done really dirty, but it's not been thrilling for
Yeah,
people.
I guess let's move on then to some of the other evil men lists.
Yeah.
I haven't delved into these too much, so I don't know if there's anything of note that you want to touch on. But we have the Serpent Horde and the Grand Army of the South. I guess the first thing we should probably touch on, just out of the
Yeah.
tradition here, we have to touch on Suladan himself, the boogeyman of
Yeah.
the GBHL for many years now, sort of at this point, and the most beloved model of our very own Ashley Walger. He's gone up by 35 points.
He was he was 115.
Yeah, and now he's
Or five.
140 on horse.
He's
Oh,
145.
sorry, 145. Yeah, sorry, so he's gone up
30
30
points
points.
increase. Yeah.
30 points. Yeah.
But he's yeah, I mean 30 points increase for I think nothing changed on him.
Nothing. I don't think so. He can lead
Which
Serpent Guard and Serpent Riders, so they've put that the Serpent Guard and Serpent Riders into the elites kind of category.
yeah.
I'm not sure how elite they were. I guess they're elite for
They're elite for that.
this list, but like you
Yeah.
don't. I don't like that. To be fair, I don't. I don't know. I'm not sure they were even meant to be elites for them. I think they were just meant to be slightly better troops. It's like, would you make are men at arms the elites compared to Black Reveil archers? Because Black Reveil are fight 3 and the men at arms are fight 4. It's like, I guess, but you don't think of men at arms as the elites in those lists. Like, Kazad-dum, for example, sort of are in Kingdom of Kazad-dum,
Yeah, it's a
Rohan, Royal Guard, but I don't know. I think they're maybe just putting that for a balancing sort of thing potentially. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean he kept his 6-inch banner. Like
Yeah,
I think realistically you never really pay for the horse on him anymore. He is your
yeah,
March sick banner save points kind of guy.
yeah. But what they
And
have done now, so I guess, so he can be taken in the Legions of Mordor list now.
yes.
And obviously, we've spoken lots of times about how one way that they could clean up the banner from being so good is that you make it only affect Haradrim models or something like that, Serpent Horde models. You put that in the rule for the banner. They haven't done that, so it still affects everything. But the way that they have done it, which is something they've done with lots of these lists in the way that you construct them, is that certain heroes can only lead certain types of troops.
Yeah.
But obviously that was a thing before as well, where if you were allying him in, he could only take sort of some Serpent Riders or something with him. So that was still a
Yeah.
thing anyway. Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, you'd only be bringing in Serpent Riders regardless with him.
with him. Yeah, yeah, which is
It's
still a thing now. Yeah,
yeah, it's just you'll lose the horse versatility.
yeah.
You're paying more regardless anyway.
Oh, can he not take the horse in that list?
No,
Can he not?
you can take the horse,
Oh,
sorry, but you're never gonna really pay for it. I don't think.
well, now, like, yeah, if he was sometimes just a 6-inch banner, then do you want to just keep him as a 6-inch banner? But he is
Yeah,
120 points for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he was fight 6, the argument to give him a horse
Mm.
is much more, is bigger. But I don't think I think he would have we've been fine with a fight six in this new edition.
I think if they put Suladan up to fight six, there would have been outrage. I, I
With
think
if you're
I'm
for
not
145 points, I don't know if there was because Amdo's fight
sure
seven
with
at
the
145 with no horse, and they
maybe not in terms of like the practicality, but I think in terms of the face value, I think people would have gone, "What the hell?"
yeah
When they saw the profile. But
yeah. I just think as a model, he would have been fine like, with fight six, but
yeah, 145 points is a lot
yeah, like
for a 5/5 model.
yeah, but even it's just the rest of the list. Like Raza's still fight four.
Mm,
His Serpent's weapon, where he used to go up to +2 fight value, like he's going to fight six now,
yeah,
which
is
is
not as good as it was
it's
before.
not as
So
good. Yeah, and
yeah,
he's 222. I think he was 311
I think
last
he was
edition.
311. Yeah, so
Like just a fight four striker, like you pair him into dwarfs, and he's just struggling hard now. I mean, he
yeah,
already did last
yeah.
edition, but
And like, I guess a really good thing about these kinds of heroes that maybe, oh, you're 5/4, you're maybe not doing too much, but you're like, oh, for 65 points, you're my cheap 3 might hero. Yeah, sure, but
two
now
might
they're
know.
losing that
Yeah.
as kind of their role, and but lots of heroes are having that, so it's maybe doesn't hurt as much, but it's just it maybe puts other options in those lists ahead of someone like Raza.
Yeah, and like the Serpent Horde list, they've lost the Betrayer, but the biggest rule in that list now is once per game at the start of any fight phase, Suladan can use the special rule as long as he's alive, and if you do, friendly Harad models gain the Bane of King special rule, which is reroll all fail
Mm,
to wounds. So pretty much the same
yeah,
thing as the Betrayer used to do.
and is
Um,
that in the Serpent Horde list? Yeah,
that's
yeah,
in the Serpent Horde list. The other ones are uh, friendly elite models gain Swarm Protector Suladan, and they get poison weapons for all their weapons if they have poison bows. So
yeah.
um, it's it's just not as good overall.
Mm,
I but maybe at lower points again, it could be good as a shooting
yeah,
meta
yeah.
um,
Still,
list,
yeah,
which it was decent last edition with that kind of
mm,
way. So, but it's tricky to say.
yeah.
They've got too much love, and like the
And
Grand
Suladan is now
Armies,
just worse. Like he's gone up in points and he hasn't got any better. Where everything else, lots of other things
yeah,
around in other lists has got better. So he's just not as good.
yeah. I mean, the Grand Army itself has a lot of options.
Hell of a lot. Yeah,
It's got like the Mammoth, Suladan, Dalamir, Amdur, Delgamar, and then a lot of Easterling stuff,
yeah.
Corsairs.
So like all the Serpent Horde stuff, all the Haradrim and Easterlings. So
Yeah,
now you can get Fight 5 into this list with Amdur.
yes,
So you can do that. That is a thing.
yeah. Like
Also with a
obviously,
Dragon Knight, you could do that.
yeah. Only certain heroes can lead their troops,
Yeah,
which
give that. Yeah.
you can't. You know, you have to. You're kind of forced again into that. I need to take this model to take that. So
Yeah, but I think if you're wanting to do that, you're probably not running this list anyway. So you know,
yeah, I think it's a like this again. I could maybe see this list doing potentially well as again a cheap fight five, maybe lower points. You don't take Suladan, you don't take the war leader, you take some of these smaller dudes and go
yeah,
spam at low points. You somehow get
hmm
fight five in there, but that's only with a Dragon Knight. You can lead six. Uh,
yeah. You could
it
take
just becomes a
Amdur
bit.
and take more, but then he's your leader. Amdur's obviously better now, as we talked about in our last video.
Yeah,
But yeah, kind of a lot of choices. Need to kind of see how it plays out in terms of where it's the
yeah.
most
See how they
effective,
get
sort of
on,
thing.
but
Yeah.
I don't really know for these guys. I think they've had a bit of a tough time. We'll see how they
Overall,
do. Yeah,
the evil men. Yeah, so
yeah.
TBD. We'll see how things play out for those lists, but we shall move on. We've got a couple more lists. So first of all, we're going to touch on the Dragons of the North. Where do you want to go with this one? I'll hand over to you here.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess so the Dragons of the North list is dragons and cave drakes. That is it.
So
So you have to take a dragon and have them as your general.
yeah,
So The rules for it is that each time a friendly model slays an enemy model in combat, they roll a d6. On a natural six, they have located some gold upon the body of the fallen.
Oh,
Um, Keep a note of how much gold each model claims, and then you get bonuses depending on how much gold that model has claimed. So for one gold, you get to reroll a single to wound roll when making strikes, which is quite nice to be honest for those
quite
models when you
nice.
need to be
Just a
killing
reroll.
consistently.
Yeah.
2 to 3 gold, you can basically get a banner in your drill roll. Four
Yep.
to five is they gain fearless, and then 6+. At the end of the game, their controlling player will gain an additional victory point, just flat. And this can never, you can't go above 20, so you can't get 21
Yep.
VP
You
overall.
get an
So,
extra VP.
some decent rules in there. Again, it depends. It's just whether you roll a six or not. It can be quite
Break out your
situational.
Riverdale dice for those
Yeah,
natural sixes, baby. Yep.
yeah.
For sure.
So another rule that your dragon leader gets to choose three options instead of two.
Hmm.
The options are pretty good. So I'm not that's a good rule. And
Yep.
the other one is that each dragon in your army must have a different combination of options. You can't take two dragons that have fly and breathe fire. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
You
it's
could take two with fly, but then that second one has to have a different
yes.
option. Yeah.
So you could take breathe fire and fly, and then breathe fire and superior intellect, for example.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting with these models. So because you got a fight eight dragon, who the shoot
Hmm.
value of a 2+,
And the dragon
and
was fight seven before, so it's fight seven with strike, and now it's fight eight, which in this new
yeah,
edition
it doesn't have striking
looks
more,
super
but
good.
again, I don't think it's the biggest problem for these kind of models. Um, it's it's 3/3/3, so and D7, like it's a pretty tough thing to deal with. And like breathe fire doesn't cost you a will anymore, like it's just a bow. And it's
Yeah.
still the same, within 2 inches you get set ablaze, a straight 10 hit. It's pretty good. And you can have
Yeah.
two of these, it's solid.
Mm.
To clear out a large portion of the army.
Yeah.
I I could see people having an issue with this list.
In
Similar,
terms of playing into it, sort of thing,
yes.
and with how it's going to be to face.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if this list has a similar issue with Eagles or similar to
Mm.
Eagles. Maybe it's not as bad due to just less models in general.
Yeah.
Only having, say if you take two dragons, that's only two dominant five models. Like they can't really
Yeah.
be everywhere all the
Be
time.
everywhere. No.
However, you get a lot more board control with the breathe fire. So
Yeah.
although with Eagles you might not be able to move three-quarters of your army because it's stuck there with the screech,
Yeah.
um, you might have already lost 15 models before combat,
Yeah.
regardless with the
Yeah.
dragons, which is arguably worse than having your
Mm.
models just not being able to move.
Yeah.
So
And then the
again,
dragons are tougher than eagles.
yeah, they've got three mind
Obviously, well, they're
decks.
D7 compared to D8, but they're 7 wounds. You could have one with 9 wounds.
Yeah,
Fight eight. Yeah, so
you just got more might. You're Dom five. You can. I can just see this, but a really fun list to play. I would personally like to give it a go
yeah.
because it's kind of my style. But
Mm.
again, I think it might have similar problems with how monsters are doing this edition with the bonuses. These will be really pretty solid at certain points levels, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Veering on the lower points, like 550, for example,
Mm.
maybe 600. If
Yeah.
you take two
So, like,
dragons,
are you taking a cave drake, or are you going like double or triple dragon? That really.
you could take a cave drake. Like I think the gaping maw is quite interesting because now it's you gain a wound back if you kill the model that you've maured. So James is going to be
Oh, I
loving that.
didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't read the gaping maw because I thought, those brutal power attacks, they never really change,
yeah.
those kind of unique ones. But it's changed. I didn't
Because
know
if the
that.
cave drake slays an enemy
Shout out
model,
James
they may immediately regain a wound early in the
on a
battle
2-up.
on a 2+. So it was a
On a
3+,
2-up.
so that's been made better,
Oh,
and you regain a wound. So the
that's
actual
good.
war is good.
Yeah, actually play.
And
Yeah,
they got the cornered beast rule. So if your if your Drake is trapped and lose a roll or lose the roll to
Yeah.
the duel, kind of like Howler with the lash out and
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
or hit, you get the same, but it's everyone within
Yeah.
1 inch. So that could be a lot of models if you're trying to trap and you don't kill
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. If you're trying to.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
there.
fight 7 now, up from it was fight 6 before, I think.
I don't think so.
Oh, was it? I thought it was fight 6. Let me check. I
I,
think that's quite a
I
high
think it's
score.
fight 7. I think it's always been fight 7. Um, I I wouldn't be surprised if Double Dragon is better than the Cave Drakes. I
Yeah.
think the ability to fly and more board control, but with the Breathe Fire is better overall.
It was fight 6.
Oh, what's fight
So going
6?
up
Was
to
it
fight
straight?
7
Okay,
is
so yeah.
it was strength 7. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And D7, which it is now, but yeah, fight 6 to fight 7 in this edition is nice.
Yeah. I think this is a list to see how it goes, to watch out for it. I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised. Maybe the scenarios might affect it
Yeah,
negatively.
true.
So
True.
we'll have
Yeah,
to see.
we'll see. Yeah, we were asking for more monsters in this new edition. It was obviously feedback that they had. They heard, maybe through channels such as our own. And here we are talking about monsters more than we ever did
I
last
like it.
edition.
I'm a fan.
So, yeah, it's good to see. Okay, so we shall move on to the last list that we're going to look at quickly here before we have any kind of other honourable mentions of things we wanted to talk about, which is Moria. Now, I haven't actually done too much looking into this. Do you have more details?
Um, from what I've seen, it's okay.
Mm.
Like it's nothing special. You get if Durbur's once per game, you basically if Durbur's you can use his ability. He can't move. However, all friendly Moria Goblin models get +2 to their move value. So that's quite nice. You're then moving
And it's
6.
all of them. It's not within a. It's
It's
just
just
all
flat.
goblins.
Yeah, it's just flat.
Okay.
Additionally, you get 6 inches auto pass courage tests when you're charging stuff with terror
Mm-hmm.
with that special rule.
Yep.
Or the goblins get Mountain Dweller, and you get the same thing as last edition, where if a goblin's trapping a model,
Yeah.
they get +1 to their
Plus
fight
one
value.
fight. Yep.
Um, Durbers, I think it's just still Durbers. Like he
Mm.
still has this 12-inch stand fast. And then
By
I guess
four
you've got
still.
the
Yep.
once per game, Durbers can declare he's using this ability. Friendly goblin models within 6 gain bonus of +1 to wound. Pretty nice. Again, you gotta hope that.
But then it says down here underneath though, I hadn't seen this actually. However, any other friendly goblin model within 6 inches that loses a dual roll must roll a d6 after any strikes have been made. On a roll of a 1, they suffer a wound. So if it's
Yeah,
an infantry model, you roll a 1, you die. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
just a bit backhanded.
an interesting rule. Yeah.
The you've got the good old classic misprint of Druzag having Enraged Beast self, so you can
Yes.
enrage. I like that. But
As a copy
yeah,
paste.
I think it's I think it's okay. Again, the bat swarms have
You've
stayed
got
the
some
same.
monsters in the list as well. So you've got the dragon, you have the Watcher. So obviously not the Balrog. So they're trying to make
Yeah,
depths be its own thing. It's just interesting. Obviously we've got depths being really good at the moment. Obviously the Balrog being a monster being better. Oh, there's also the Cave Drake in this, I
Cave
believe
Drake's in
as
there. The
well. Yeah,
dragons in
Cave
this.
Drake. Yeah. So and
Um,
Felwargs as well. That's a little interesting
yeah, so you kind of get like
addition in there.
the Druzhag version of it with the spiders and stuff.
Yeah, Spider as well. Micro Spider. Yeah.
So it's interesting, like, the bat swarms have stayed the same. They're still really good. The drum is a bit lackluster. Like, it's just a 75-point banner, basically.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty
Oh yeah, I
tough.
saw some people talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
So
doesn't do anything else.
it's just similar to last. Like the Prowlers, have backstabbers. They're nice. They got the throwing weapons. They're two-handed, but it's kind of similar, if I'm honest. Like, at least
Mm,
from my perspective, there's nothing too snazzy about it.
mm. And it's
It
like
might,
at the moment with the Balrog being so much better, and then the not breaking for the VPs and stuff, like those are really big things, And then the
yeah.
banner being battlefield wide and +1 courage and -1, or is that also a thing for this banner as well? The +1 -1
It's the
courage.
same
I
thing.
think.
Yeah, I think
Ah,
you just
I
got
thought
the.
that was maybe something that was in the depths list. That
Yeah, no.
particular
So
part.
you get the +1 courage test, -1 courage test, 18-inch
That's still the
drum.
thing.
It's
Okay.
18-inch banner, so it's not board wide anymore with this drum.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, with this one. Oh, so it's
yeah,
worse than the one in depths. So
yeah,
that's
but it does count
another
as
better thing about
yeah, it
depths.
does count as a banner. So that's the
Oh,
another
this one
thing.
where it doesn't in depths. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just it's okay. There might be a scenario again where you take Durbers and you take a lower point list where you kind of spam
Yeah.
with a few bat swarms, prowlers to give yourself something.
Hmm.
Where but that might work. So we'll see. But it's looking it's similar-ish to Fiefdoms in my opinion, where it's not bad, it's not really good, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like it could be seen maybe at certain points, but I doubt
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. Considering that depths is maybe
Yeah, the
the
barrel's
Moria
pretty,
list at the moment. Yeah.
yeah, barrel's pretty strong, but the Watcher's in there as well and is really good. So you
Mm.
could see a Watcher Prowler
A
thing with
variation.
Battle like that's
Yeah.
not bad.
Were
So
prowlers added
they were
into
added into
depths?
Moria, yeah.
Into
Oh,
depths or into
Depths of
this?
Moria, yeah.
Oh, they were. Okay.
So yeah, I think Depths is probably still going to be better, but we'll see.
Yeah, there is another sort of thing which maybe I should have mentioned at the start, but there's obviously in the Armies book a big section showing which heroes can be added into which lists that are from the Armies of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books,
Yeah.
which, if I'm honest, the whole setup here seems very confusing. I think they've obviously tried to make it more thematic, and maybe if you're someone picking up the Armies of the Lord of the Rings book because you like the Lord of the Rings, that book is a lot more cohesive and easy to understand and approach as a newer player potentially, or a more casual player. But as someone who is going to have this armies book, it's very sort of not that easy because you can't pick up the Armies of the Lord of the Rings book and look at it and know what's in a list. You have to have another book unless you're going to memorize everything that can be used. So it's quite a messy setup now, where I think before just having everything in a faction that you
Yeah.
could scroll through and read, I think was a lot more clear and easy to follow for everyone. But
Just got to use Tabletop Admiral now, basically, is the
we
best.
do shout out to Tabletop Admiral. I must say as well, he has put everything up immediately onto
Yeah.
Tabletop Admiral. So some stellar work there for sure. So big shout out to him. So I guess that's about it. Any honourable mentions? I will kick us off here. I must say, as a big Rivendell player, I'm very happy to see, well, I was previously, I've used it a few times, sort of thing, Last Alliance and such. Very happy to see Elladan and Elrahir not be tied to the same warband. That's
Yeah.
a great change. That actually makes them playable, viable. Not that they weren't before, but have them as, for such a point sink, and they could only lead 12 troops. Like, that was a huge problem for list construction. And now having them be super good and solid, but they can lead 24 troops between them is a huge bonus. Makes it a lot. It fits more into kind of the standard, not theme, but like flow of list construction. Where before, I think it was a huge negative. So I really like to see that change has been made.
I think this makes them really good, if I'm honest. Like if you take these two, 80 points per each technically, with leading 12, like 24 for 160 points, warband
Yeah.
spaces. You chuck in Arwen in the Rivendell list, and
Mm.
at 700 points, you can get like these two plus Arwen, three knights, a banner, at
Yeah.
38 models or so, and
Because
it's
between them, they have 36 slots now,
yeah,
where before that just was. So, like, it just opens up a hell of a lot more. Now, the thing that I was saying that I didn't finish saying that I forgot was that in the whole section at the front of the Army's book, where it shows which heroes can be added into which lists, there's loads of different kind of troops and heroes that have been slotted into some of the other lists from the Armies of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books. These two, for example, are now in Men of the West. You've got heroes like Imrahil, Hurin, for example, being added into Defenders of the Pelennor. So there's some of these lists that you already know that are now going to have some really interesting other options added in, and these two are two of those for sure.
yeah. I think it's interesting. It's would have been cool if you could mount one of them and not the other, but that's not possible.
Yes, you can't do that. Yeah, you have to pick for both. Now, obviously, the horses are now 20 points each. But they don't have the heavy armor option. So I think I worked out, I think it's only, if you were to take them last edition with horses and heavy armor, it now only works out as being 10 points more.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got the heavy armor in their profile.
Where it was 190. Yes, they have it, but they could go up to D7 before, I think, where now they're... Oh, no, sorry. No, they were D6 before. Yeah.
I think they're solid now, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's only like 10 points more, but they also lost a point of might, I believe.
Yes, they're 2 might. Yeah.
Yeah, and were they 1 fate? I thought they were 2 fate before.
They were 2 fate, yeah.
So they've just lost a point of might, which is sort of tough, to be fair.
I just think as troop munchers, they're pretty good getting the three dice on foot.
Yeah, the other rules have stayed the same in terms of that you can choose to shield, fight two-handed, or 3 attacks. The unbreakable bond thing, I think, is exactly the same, but they have gained another rule where, whilst they're within 3 inches of each other, they are both dominant 2 and reroll 1s to wound. So,
yeah.
If they're on horse, you might want them off kind of doing other things together, but maybe this kind of makes them more of a... You could keep them on foot for 160 points. They can lead 24 troops. Get a little bonus as well.
Yeah,
so
that's nice. Yeah,
there's more options here.
Yeah, sure. They've had a bit of love for Rivendell, and although same with Lothlorien, which it's already pretty good. I don't know if it I mean, these profiles were gonna be added in regardless. However, the Sentinels back, pretty much the same. They can make it so someone passes courage test for a turn.
Pretty much the same is an understatement. When I read this rule, I did not see this rule, and then I saw someone say about it, and I was like, that is crap.
Yeah. Basically, the rule for the way you could make your Sentinel cause terror, it's now all friendly models within 3 inches gain the terror special rule. So
they haven't gone up in points. They haven't gone down to 1 attack. They're still 25 points with an elven cloak, like with a bow. They've just given them. They have a 6-inch bubble, or well, like the radius is in total.
It's just the fact that like you can have a this in combination with one of them have Awe of Dismay now. I think it's Galadriel. So you're causing terror with -1 as well. Pretty good. Like really good.
Obviously, it's not like I think maybe from last edition we're thinking of more things. Oh, Emperor has 12-inch banner and things like that. Like you see 3 inches, but if you have that in the middle of your line next to Galadriel, that is a big chunk of your line.
Yeah,
which is going to be affected by that, which is a big deal.
Helps a lot, and unlike specters where they have to be brought towards you when you use a specter on an enemy model, these don't as well. You can just make them move like last edition however you like. So they kept that. So they've had a buff, which is.
Did we think we were going to see Sentinels buffed and not nerfed in any way?
Yeah, and then
that's pretty crazy.
Same with Gladron, Guard the Gladron Court. Them fight 6. They were 12 points already. Nothing's changed with them.
Apart from they now have elven pikes.
Yeah, so
nice.
Like it's just they fight 6 access really easy for good. Courage 4+. Like they're gonna be super good.
And it's like I think it's very interesting seeing profiles from last edition where we now see them in this edition and they're not increased in points, because I think it's more a case that they were going to increase the points of lots of things across the board, which we've seen. Yeah. So I think the things that they have made conscious decisions that we are not going to increase that. So if you're, say, this profile and you've managed to dodge the increase, that's obviously super, super good, because it's got more expensive if you haven't.
And then just again, they didn't have mounted option previously. Now they do. Galadriel Knight stayed the same. 18 points. They get a woodland creature horse to go through forest. And they're 21 points if you take the bow and the shield. I don't know if you can. Oh no, sorry. They only may have one, because last edition you could take bow and the shield, and they would then whatever. So now, I guess they're a point less then if you take the bow.
Yeah.
So really good. Loth,
Solid.
liking, love and life, to be honest.
No armored Celeborn to be found though, which was
Yeah,
a
bit of
big
an interesting
conversation
one for
piece.
GW. Yeah, God knows where my
Will he
guy's been.
be?
He's wandered
Because
off,
he,
and
yeah, because he wasn't in the legacy
he's just been forgotten. He's just
list now, but I thought that they specifically said with Shagrat, for example, who sleeper. I heard people, or I haven't heard anyone talk about him for ages, but I thought he was kind of not that good now. But he's fight 6 now. He still
yeah,
has a mighty blow sort of rule. Like he's not D7 anymore. He's still 333 though. He's pretty good, but I think in the legacy sort of list, I think they said specifically that the version of him that had the shield was being removed from the game. So the fact that
the
they
Celeborn
haven't said that for Celeborn, but he's not in here, is he going to be in the legacy? But he wasn't in the legacy list
yeah,
of profiles. So maybe he'll just
mystery
turn
as to
up
where he's gone.
in legacies. I don't know, maybe they forgot.
But honestly, God knows where he's wandered off to. But yeah, we'll
Yes,
see.
indeed. Yeah, so that's it for Loth. So any other final notes before we close things out? That's it from me.
I don't think so. I know that obviously Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are back in the game, which is
Yes,
I saw there's
yes.
also a really cursed interaction with them now, which is hilarious. Because Tom has one of his songs that he can sing is you can sing the song as many times as you want.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You could just keep spending. You can
Yeah,
spend as many will as you want, and you
yeah.
can sing as many songs.
Well, basically, shout out to Connor because he's the guy I sort of thought, God, that is the most Connor Kerr thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But one of them is you get a friendly model within 6 inches, you give them 3 extra movement, and you can repeatedly do this. So you can spend
Oh
all the
really?
will, give someone 36 extra inches of movement, plus ready, and they move 42 inches across the board.
No way. That is funny. What list
they're
were
like,
they added into though? I saw they were only in one list, weren't they?
it's
I think.
it's one with Arwen. I don't
Don't know
remember
which one.
which one it is, if I'm honest.
Oh, Road to Rivendell, because I think that's where the
Might be,
hobbits
yeah.
end up going
It's
to like the Barrows and they see Tom
just
Bombadil. I think
yeah, it's just hilarious. But
it's funny.
I can't wait to see someone do that at a tournament before it
Yes.
gets FAQ'd. That'd be great. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't think obviously there's other lists. There's all the Hobbit stuff, Ruffians. There's loads of other lists. The Fords of Isen, the Army of Dale. So there's loads of things we haven't touched on. But I think in terms of which things are looking the most viable coming from the book, I think that is probably most of it. Would you say?
yeah. I think it's just gonna be Beornings, Army of Erebor. I think what else would we Kazad-dum as well.
Kazad-dum, Army of the
Hobbits
Grey Eye could be decent,
could
depending on
be
what sort of makeups you can have of it. Yeah.
yeah. The actual like the normal Legions of Mordor could be okay as well because of the amount of stuff that they've got now.
Yes, it's been added in. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the Easterling stuff has been added in. Yeah, to
Yeah.
that.
And then also uh Hobbits, I still think Hobbits are going to struggle because their warriors aren't great and they die really, really easily.
Yeah.
However, the amount of special rules that the Hobbit heroes have, and maybe Hobbits they'll be better than last edition for
Mhm.
sure. I will be really intrigued to see how they do at tournaments, if I'm honest, because there could be some spice in the Hobbit in the Battle of Bywater kind of list and stuff. So we'll see how
A
that does.
spicy Bywater. Are we going to see Ashley Walker
Actually,
take them to a GBHL 100?
no longer a Witch King Sully guy. He's back to
We
his
need to get. Yeah, the roots. We need to get the Hobbits on a back rep, surely, with Ash. He loves his Hobbits. And
he'd happily do it
it's
with the
it's
new one.
it's a side of him I don't think the community has seen, seeing as he usually runs his
Nah,
scary wraiths and such. He loves a Hobbit.
he's known for his hobbits, yeah, but
He does.
It'll be
For
interesting.
sure, we'll see. Yeah. So, okay, I think that is going to close it out. This is going to go up very soon, but I'm sure by the time it's up, in the run up to when the Army's book is released, there could be more stuff that is leaked. Obviously, the whole Army's book has been leaked now, but maybe the match play guide. We don't know. We had the match play article go up, which we haven't covered today, but I think we're anticipating that maybe the match play guide will be leaked in the near future.
Yeah.
Who knows? So we shall be back, though. Maybe there will be more emergency podcasts on the horizon. But I think that's going to close us out for today. If you made it this deep into the video, thank you very much for watching. And that's going to close out. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching another emergency podcast here from the Gollum's Gamers.
Mm.